Scattered across these valleys are the remains of what was once a key part of England's lead mining industry. And many years ago now, this place was thriving, but eventually abandoned whilst the local population plummeted. But what happened? Well, we're currently making our way towards the ruins of a place known as Old Gang Mill, which is still surrounded by wide open mine entrances that once supplied the ore to the mill for smelting. And in this video, we're going to explore what's left, try and understand how this industry grew, why it declined, and why all of this was eventually just left behind. So come along with me and let's go and check it out. Now we are currently in Swaledale in the north of Yorkshire. I'm hoping that the wind isn't going to be too loud for you. Slightly treacherous ice-laden roads here. It's one of the reasons that I'm not in my car currently driving along this road. That was the plan, but we're on plan B. There is also plan C and D if needed. Ooh. Look at this straight away. Just ice hiding under the snow. Now we're in Swaledale for a reason, and it's because in the 17th and 18th centuries in particular, Swaledale was a significant part of the lead mining industry in this country. Recorded history of lead mining in the Yorkshire Dales goes as far back as the Roman era. So throughout history, Swaledale has been particularly prosperous. You can already see some ruins over here. This isn't what we're heading to. There are ruins all over the area here. Looking at the map, and I'll put you a big version on screen, you can see just how much history there is here in the local area. You don't have to move far at all to see the remains and the remnants of this industry. We can see a lot of entries on the map with the letters DIS written in brackets, which is short for disused. So we've got plenty of disused shafts and flues, the flue being what would have dragged the fumes away from the smelting process here at the mills. And they're all over. They really are all over, no exaggeration. Even if we to kind of go further afield from this exact area, we go further west, we get to a place called Gunnerside Gill, which is another popular place for kind of just looking into the history of what used to happen here. So there's a lot to explore, a lot more than you could fit into a single day if you really wanted to be thorough. We've got a temperature today of just 0 actually, so it's not too bad, but -5 last night, so a lot of frozen water and a wind chill bringing it down to feeling about -4, according to the forecast at least. So nothing too crazy, probably for any residents of real cold countries, but for us in England, it's a little bit chilly. Now we're going to turn off the road very shortly and head into the hills, where we'll start seeing the remains of the lead mining industry pretty soon. And I guess we should start with how this industry grew. We know the Romans were mining lead, and there's been a lot of activity here ever since then. And the answer to why, I guess, is kind of obvious. There was a lot here. This is an area rich, or at least was rich, in mineral veins, veins of lead ore. And we even have records from before the Victorian era that shows that this area in particular was identified as being a particularly strong one for lead mining. And ever since then, at least up until somewhat recently, there's been a lot of things going on. A lot of mining, a lot of crushing, a lot of smelting, and the production and sale of lead. Also often being sold and exported to other countries like Belgium and France. And although of course it was brutal and dangerous work for many, it was a prosperous time. Now there are a number of different ways we could explore this area. Level House, Bridge 2 miles, sorry. We don't want to go that way. I can't really see exactly where this is pointing towards, but we are going to go this way. One of the reasons being, if we have a look on the map for this exact spot, what's listed here is the remains of a now disused flue. And I was curious to see what we might be able to see in the landscape. The only thing that's immediately obvious are these patches of rock here. So maybe the snow in the ground is now covering what's left of the flue. The flues, these tunnels of stone that carried the fumes away from the fire, were very long in some instances and are now in very varied conditions Some of them standing pretty well. You can even walk through them if you like, but some of them just rubble. And I guess this might be one of those that's just rubble. Not too sure where that footpath was pointing us towards, now that I'm here. Let's go a little bit further, and if it feels too much not like a path, we'll go find something else that does. Oh, this looks a bit more like the flue to me. Maybe my map GPS coordinates weren't quite right. This has got to be it. It's a pretty long one. A bit far away, but there is the ruins of an old building up there, which I guess this must have led from. And now just crumble, but we can still see kind of the ditch in the land and some of the stone that's just sitting here still. Tell you what, let's follow the flue up to its source. I think there's a couple of mine entrances up there too. And then I can tell you about our main destinations today. There are two key places we're currently walking towards. One of them is called Old Gang Mill, and the other one is the old Peat store. They both seem to be pretty significant in terms of what's left, so we should be in for some good views. Not only that, but I got something exciting to show you as well. See if you can guess what it might be. Now, long-term viewers of this channel might know what this is, because I mentioned this several months ago now. It's something I wanted to try and save up for, and I finally got one. So I owe a big thank you to everyone who's chipped in to help out with the drone fund, and today's sponsor who've basically paid for the rest of it. So I owe a massive thank you to Jackery for helping us to get the drone, and also for sending me one of their power banks, their 300D. It's basically like a hybrid between a standard power bank and kind of the bulkier ones that you might take camping or for emergency power backup. And it's earned itself a permanent slot in my car for these trips, because I'm constantly, every time I film, having to recharge my phone from using navigation apps, recharge my spare camera batteries. I have to change these halfway through filming most of the time. And now I can use it for my drone as well. So it's a very practical sponsorship in many ways that I could easily recommend having a look at. And maybe my favourite feature, just because it gave me a smile when I discovered it, is that the carry handle is a USB-C cable. So you don't have to worry about forgetting to take a cable, pack a cable. You can just pop it off and start charging. And there are tons of other interesting features as well. So if you're interested, definitely worth a look. There is a discount available for viewers of this video, and there will be a link in the description. I guess this was the source of the flue. I didn't come across this particular ruin when I was looking at the satellite imagery, or at least I couldn't make out what it was. But there's no entrance for... Oh, it actually goes around here. I'd assumed the flue was coming to this building, but it carries on all the way around this side. I wonder why I didn't just go straight out there and down the hill. So this was probably a chimney then. Still got the old archway, pretty well intact, but the rest of the flue totally collapsed. Which leaves another question, which is, what was this? It's coming downhill. I feel like I should know what that is. Looking on the map, it just says disused shafts, but I'm a bit confused as to why the shafts would be connected to the chimney directly, when surely the shafts would be connected, well, used to transport from and to the mill. So that's a little bit strange to me, but maybe I'm missing something. You might have figured it out already. So what we need to do, I mean, I don't know what happened to this footpath. Let's just walk up to this entrance, and then we'll take a left towards Old Gang Mill. Just going to go across this flue. We've got some prints here. These, what are they? I'm not much of a tracker. So continuing on with the story of the valley, we know why it became so busy and so prosperous, but where did it all go wrong? Well, the mines opened up a lot of new jobs. They brought many new people to the area, particularly throughout the 1700s, whereby the population of Swaledale was rising. And kind of like I mentioned, although it's referred to historically as a thriving period of time, I don't think I would have wanted to have been around then working in the mines, because the work was brutal, dangerous. We've got children as young as 9 and 10, sometimes younger in other areas, working in the mines too. But I guess, that's just the way life was. We will have just a very brief look in some of these entrances. Is this a flue as well? Because I can see light on the other end. But for anybody who is hoping to see full, legitimate mine explorations, it won't be in this video, I hate to tell you. But they are out there on YouTube. Yeah, that seems to lead just to the next opening in the land. And there's a collapse already happening there. Yeah, there are a number of reasons why I won't be going into the various mine entrances very far today. And it's for the obvious, for safety reasons. Number one, I'm here by myself. And equally as important, I'm not experienced in mine exploration. Mine exploration is dangerous even when you know what you're doing and you have experience. And whilst I can see the appeal, I find it really interesting to watch videos on it, for example. I'm a little bit of a claustrophobe. And so the idea of walking into a very old man-made tunnel that's already likely collapsed in several places and probably will collapse in other places again sometime, that doesn't appeal to me too much. Now, if we fast forward a little bit, once the 1800s is kind of well on its way, things are already on a downturn here. Two major problems in particular. Number one, there are more and more imports of lead coming into the country, for example from Spain in particular. And number two, nothing lasts forever. You can't mine an area for infinity. The mineral veins are going to run dry. How do we get back to this path? I'm just following animal tracks at this point and trying to look for a clearing in the heather. I'm not even sure that's heather. Is it? Is that heather in winter? This is where we need Sam from the ecology episode back on the channel. Yeah, so these two factors slowly but surely wreaked havoc on the industry here. The market became more volatile. The men weren't getting paid enough. And it seemed like, it kind of felt like, looking back, maybe the lead ore was running out, running thin. Now those are two things that you can't really do much about. We've got records of letters from the 1860s from some of the men who were working in the mines asking for an increase in pay. But it looks like it never came. And in hindsight, no wonder. The mines just simply weren't making enough money. And the mindset of many people involved in the mines here at the time is quite curious to me, looking back on it at least, in hindsight. Because there's a persistent hope on record from those running and managing the mines in particular. As the mining process became less fruitful, there were several accounts of, this, we just got to push through. We will find more. We will be prosperous again. And I can only speculate. All we've got to look back on is, what's left, the records that did remain. Bearing in mind, I know very little about the lead mining industry regardless of what time period it was happening in. But this consistent hope that was expressed by those running the mines did make me wonder whether they really meant it. Did they really think they were going to find more? Or were they just desperate? Okay, it looks like we're going to be back on the main path very soon. On the map, this is just, what's that? What is that? Any farmers watching? There's nothing on the map apart from just showing that there are walls here. When I first saw it, I thought, because it's in the shape of a T, I was trying to think, what does T mean? What could a T be? But the black line is just a wall. Where's the most sensible looking way down? What we're going to do is rejoin the path, turn right here, and then we pretty much just head straight to get to the ruins of Old Gang Mill, as well as the Peat store and another mine entrance. Okay, here's the path. So, as the 1800s progressed, the lack of decent pay available, the seemingly dwindling veins of lead ore throughout the landscape here, many families were left with no choice but to leave. And that's what a lot of people did. Many of them going west, over to West Yorkshire, for example, or further afield to Lancashire. Some people reportedly moving to USA. But for those who stayed in England, they were going to work in coal mines or textiles mills, basically anywhere where the work was more reliable and readily available. And this outward movement really had an impact on the population of Swaledale. We're obviously a bit out in the middle of nowhere anyway, but it is a pretty rural place, and Swaledale itself is not huge. But from the records I found, I think it was the early 1820s, the population in Swaledale had risen to over 7,000. May not sound like a ton, but bear in mind the landscape. And by the end of the 1800s, the turn of the 20th century, it had dropped by more than half. Now pretty soon we should see the ruins coming into view. And we'll get to piece together pretty much the full end-to-end process of what was taking place here. I can already see a chimney in the far distance. Here we go. The complex of the Old Gang Smelting Mill. I can immediately see quite a lot actually. We've got the chimney, of course, and what looks like another chimney on the hill where I guess there would have been a flue feeding into. I think there's a sign down here too. I guess that's about as high as the sun is going to get today. Old Gang Lead Smelting Mill. The scheduled ancient monument is being conserved. Please do not clamber on walls or cause any damage. Yorkshire Dales National Park. All perfectly reasonable requests. Got the chimney here. One thing interesting about this mill is that we don't have exact dates for when it was constructed. Can you see up there? When it was constructed or closed down for some reason. It wasn't that long ago. All I could find were best estimates, which put it around somewhere in the 1840s for construction, and then closed, I think in the 1890s, maybe, but I couldn't tell you with certainty. And what they'd be doing was processing the ore, crushing, washing, and smelting. This must have been, I guess, where some of the smelting was taking place, because this looks like the beginning of the flue that leads up to that chimney on that hilltop. Here we can sort of see the way this curves around. Would this have been a full closed off section? I suppose so. As usual, I'm relying somewhat on you as the viewers to fill in some of these gaps with all of your knowledge. Huge doorways. Another flue here as well. Now apparently this machinery is not from the mining days. Let's have a quick look in here. Yeah, there were reports of even in the 1990s that some more work was being done here to try and recover valuable minerals. Oh, we got a fireplace. Try and recover valuable minerals from the spoil heaps. So that's all the waste heaps, all the waste material from the mining process. There is apparently something called barytes. I don't really know what they are, but they're worth something, and you can seemingly extract them from old spoil heaps. Any guesses? Oh, it's a simple gyrator. James simply vibrator. It's a vibrator. Patent applied. Even wood here. It's interesting seeing how much is left. What a view that is as well. There are also in the area, I'm not sure where, but rail tracks where the ore would have been transported. I think a long time ago, before this mill was here, horses were used to move the ore in some circumstances. Another fireplace. What was this then? A little house for the workers? Yeah, of course later on mechanisation allowed for machinery to do some more of the lifting. Ice. And I believe they were also using water wheels in this area. Really don't want to break an ankle all the way out here. I'll just poke my camera around there. I know I'm a bit overcautious sometimes, but I'm far away from anybody at the moment. So I do not want to get stranded here with an injury. I can't quite piece together any of this, but maybe some of you can. Oh, and this is the flue that we saw from down there, I think. So this would have travelled... Oh, this is a chimney too then. Would you have multiple chimneys for one flue? Or is that just a vertical section of the flue and then it carried on all the way up to that chimney there? So it comes out here, up. I'm guessing really, but this has all been bricked up too. So this is the processing side of what was happening here. It's quite a big site still. I haven't seen any other ruins where the collection of buildings and the mill remains are as substantial as this. There are more around the valley, and further west of here is a place called Gunnerside Gill, which we will probably visit sometime on this channel too. Oh. But maybe once the snow's gone, because after today this weather's going to get a whole lot worse. I had a very short window to come and film this, and it's this present 24 hours. The only time that this would have been possible. Okay, 2 more things to check out before we pop the drone up and you witness the world's worst drone pilot flying a drone. The Peat store with the unusual looking remains, let's say, up on that hill, but down here I think there's a mine entrance. This building's very intact. It must still be used. It's got a modern drain. What is it? Oh, like storage for the farmers maybe, or for the national park. You can see a little bit of the Peat store coming over the top of that hill. But before we go there, let's have a quick look at this. Now this is one of the old mine entrances. It's very wet. How deep is it? Because I do have waterproof shoes. Now I haven't got wellies with me, but something cheaper and more portable I wanted to try out. I'm not actually sure if these are going to fit. They are too small. Okay, I need to order some of those in a bigger size, but let me at least try to show you some of this brickwork. What's unique about this area is that in a lot of parts in Yorkshire, I specify Yorkshire because it's the only area I really know vaguely well in parts, but a lot of mines are totally sealed off. So it's not particularly common that you would be able to go and explore these. But here, if you wanted to, and you've got some experience, you're prepared, you could go as far as you want down here, at your own risk, of course. Now this entryway here, I know that torch is a bit bright on camera sometimes, is pretty solid. Not sure exactly how far this one goes, but I've seen some videos and you can find them on YouTube. It goes far enough. Maybe I would do it with somebody experienced, but I'm not massively drawn to the mines. Interested, but don't want to be inside them, let's say. If you do want to see some mine explorations on this channel, kind of hoping you don't, but if you do, let me know, and I'll see if I can organise something with some people who know what they're doing. Okay, final stop. I guess we could probably go up this way. Now what we've seen today, I mean, you saw it on the map as well, this really is just a snapshot of what remains in the area. These are the most significant ruins and remains, but there's a lot to see. If you're tempted to visit yourself, I'll put the full visitor / accessibility info at the end of this video. But before then, the Peat store. Have you ever seen ruins like this before? Because I haven't. Now the purpose of this building, it's kind of in the name really. Apparently when you're smelting lead ore, the fuel which you choose to burn as part of this process can impact the quality of the result, the lead. Now here in this valley, they were using peat, and it was stored in this huge long building. We've got these stone pillars on either side, would have had a thatched roof across the top, supported by timber, and open sides to allow the peat to dry thoroughly. And according to the records, it's estimated that they could store here up to 3 years worth of fuel. That's a lot of fuel. And now that I'm here, I can believe it, it's pretty big. Look how long it is. We've got some more tracks here too. It's absolutely massive. Still got a bit of wood here actually. This never would have caught my eye in the past, but the more and more ruins that I visit, there's very rarely any wood remaining. But I guess, you know, this isn't that old in the grand scheme of things. And now it's just sitting here on a hilltop in Yorkshire. Let's head back to the public footpath, and then we'll pop the drone up, have a quick fly around, and then I can let you know how to visit. Don't set your expectations high. Now I need to keep line of sight of the drone. So I'm going to take off from this footpath here. Even from there, that looks pretty amazing. Oops, wrong way. Sorry, everybody. The world's worst drone pilot. Wow, it is massive, isn't it? That is absolutely huge. Having to focus a little bit. Sorry if I'm a bit quiet. You can just see it there in the distance. Pretty huge though. Okay, let's bring it back and we'll go and have a look at the mill. I've got a pretty good view of the drone from here as well. This is hard. This is harder than it looks. There are features on here you can use to, it'll kind of rotate around buildings for you. I want to make sure I don't go too far so I can't see it. Pretty good view though. Like I said, for most of the time on this channel, the occasions where I use a drone are going to be fairly few and far between. It's kind of interesting seeing it from above though. Okay, let's bring it back in. There it is. Bring it back to home point. Hopefully there's some usable footage in there. If you have a drone, feel free to give me some tips, because I've done all the safety preparations, I've done the theory, I've got all the necessary IDs, I've read all the guidelines, but I am brand new to this, so there's a lot to learn, I'm sure. Hopefully I don't return home to realise that I didn't press record or something. We'll soon see. Now, if you want to visit these ruins yourself, ordinarily it's fairly accessible actually. There is a lay-by not too far away that I think we may have walked past on the way here, which depending on what kind of vehicle you've got will be more suitable in some seasons than others. But outside of winter, it's pretty easy to get to. You then have plenty of options. You can do a full circular around here. It basically would be a full loop around the valley that comes back down here. And you'll see lots of things on the way, loads of other mine entrances, lots of other bits of ruins. If you need a shorter trip, for whatever reason, from the lay-by where you park up, you can just walk this way and come straight up this road. I sort of accidentally skipped some of the road as we went to investigate that flue earlier on in the video. I think it's a private road for the farmers here, but it all looks to be pretty walkable terrain, and it's publicly accessible on foot. I don't know the distance of that off the top of my head, but I'll put it on screen right now. And if the full 10k doesn't sound like it's enough for you and you're particularly adventurous, well, you could make a full day of this. And you're going to see tons of stuff, but of course, please be careful. There are plenty of ways to get yourself into a pickle around here, so if you're not sure about something, stop and think about it. And never be afraid to turn back. Now I'm going to embark on my longer than planned walk back to my car. I didn't really fancy my chances of getting here in a 13-year-old little car. Hope you've enjoyed this video though. If you've got any questions or more to add, let us know in the comments. Thank you for supporting the videos, helping with the funding of this drone. Shout out to Jackery as well. I'm not too sure where we're going to be on the next video. It's going to be partially dictated by the weather because the forecast is looking a little bit brutal, I'm not going to lie. So we'll have to see where we end up. But either way, fingers crossed, I'll see you there.